One of the most common questions I get about eating disorder recovery is what to eat, how much to eat, and, well, anything related to food really. If you know my channel, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've got about a gazillion videos on how much to eat and what to eat in eating disorder recovery. Nutritional rehabilitation is a super crucial first step, so I definitely want to spend enough time talking about it, discussing it, actually getting clear on the research. However, no matter how many times I share the research, whenever I put the question to you all, or whenever I put out a poll asking fast refeed or slow refeed, the response is always the same. Slow refeed. And I don't know if that's eating disorder talking, or whether that is through experience or what professionals may have told you in the past. But I want to rip my hair out. Hi, I'm Hannah, and welcome back to another video. I talk about all things eating disorder recovery. The good, the bad, the ugly. Today, once again, the topic of refeeding. How much you should be eating, and whether I believe all in is the way to go. Well, I guess with that little prelude, you probably know my stance on fast versus slow refeeds. And if you want an in-depth explanation of why faster refeeds are actually the way to go, watch my in-depth video all about refeeding syndrome, where I talk about refeeding syndrome, but also about incremental increases that are perfect in your recovery. Note that I am not a medical professional. These videos are just for information and education purposes only, but I do consider myself a nerd and I do love diving into the research. And diving into the research is something that's not done often enough in this field, unfortunately. And when it does happen, it's still tricky because the research is very, very limited. Anyway, what can we gather from the limited research? Faster refeeds may not be as bad as commonly believed. The risk of refeeding is super small, and the risks of underfeeding and not going fast enough may be higher and riskier than going very fast very quickly. However, we all know that trying to take on too much in one go, going from 0 to 2,500 in one day, is quite a jump. And diving right in from one day to the next just sort of ignores the fact that that eating disorder voice is still very much there. Jumping straight in may mean one massive step forward and then 10 backwards as you try to undo the damage. So my best advice is to go as fast as you possibly can. Work with a professional if you can, to hold yourself accountable and to deal with any guilt or shame or other negative emotions that come up. But also to focus on your own circumstances, to focus on your own situation, to not take on more than you can actually handle, because you don't want to be taking steps back either. Don't let the eating disorder convince you that you can't do it. If you want to do it, but you're scared, do it anyway. And you're never going to feel 100% ready, but one day you're just going to have to jump in the deep end. You're going to have to sit with the uncomfortable emotions, learn to deal with them, because recovery is inherently uncomfortable, but the only way forward is through. As you do this, focus on challenging your fear foods as well, and focus on variety, because study after study show that gaining weight while still maintaining your disordered behaviors and disordered beliefs, avoiding fats, eating a limited variety, they all lead to poorer long-term outcomes. Focus on variety, eat all your food groups, and overcome those fears that at the moment hold too much power over you. That sounds a whole lot like all-in eating, doesn't it? So what are my thoughts on all-in? I love all-in. And I think at one point or other, we all have to decide to go all in on our lives, to start trusting our bodies, to start trusting its cues, to start following our passions, to live inhibition free. This is not something that is compatible with the eating disorder. Do I think that all in is necessarily the right thing for everyone at every stage of their recovery? No. Had I tried all in at the start of my recovery, I think it would have been a bit too much. I would have freaked out. I would have not been able to follow it. I would have fallen off the bandwagon. However, I think especially after you've normalized your eating to some extent, maybe through a meal plan or some other kind of external support, all in is pretty damn awesome. Use that 2,500 calorie minimum as your minimum. If you're not hungry, still eat to that minimum. If you're hungry for more, eat more. And as part of the all-in principles, start ditching diet culture. Get rid of your scales, get rid of the apps, and start making the steps towards a freer relationship with food. Nowadays, I am all in. I no longer track, so I have no idea where my intake lies in terms of the all-in calorie requirements. But I am all in the sense that screw diet culture. I don't weigh myself. I don't weigh my food. I don't track. I don't take diet pills. I don't take diet teas. I listen to my body's cues. And even on days where I crave more chocolate or crave more food in general, I will give my body just that. And that is the final step that you will have to take in your recovery in order to be fully free. If you do recovery according to a meal plan, follow that meal plan, gain weight, but never fully tune into your body again, then I think that's not full recovery. And if you're ignoring the cravings, they will come up time and again, and you won't be able to listen to them, so they'll keep coming and coming and coming, and that is not recovery. So yeah, I think all in is pretty neat. Whenever I talk about all in, however, people feel the need to specify that all in is super important to get your period back, and is super important if you're restricting, if you struggle with anorexia or any other restrictive kind of eating disorder. Does it work for binge eating as well? Let me caveat this with the fact that this is not my area of expertise, but from the work I've done with my clients, I know that even in binge eating, or people experiencing binges or overeating episodes, a lot of the time there is still some kind of restriction involved, whether this be mental or actual restriction. Certain limits on the amount of sweets you allow yourself to eat, for example, or certain times at which you allow yourself to eat and other times at which you don't. In this case, yes, I still very much recommend all in. This will require you to let go of these food rules that you still got. And whilst you may gain some weight, or whilst you may initially feel more out of control, going through with it, sitting with that discomfort, learning to deal with it, is what will get you where you want to be, i.e. full freedom. Of course, not all binges are caused by restriction, and sometimes it's an emotional response to trauma or other emotional experiences or situations, and in that case, I think it's just really important to work with a professional. I will always recommend working with a professional or a coach, because not only does this help with the accountability part of the equation, it also allows you to ask questions, to voice your concerns, to work through them in an adaptive way. All too often, the weight gain journey or starting the all-in process is so anxiety inducing initially that the eating disorder seems like the safest way out. Too many people give it a go and then take 2 steps back, take 3 steps back, or decide that maybe recovery just isn't for them and choose for the eating disorder. As such, to summarize this video, my advice is to seek professional help. My coaching website is finally up, so definitely sign up to a discovery call with me if you'd be interested. To go as fast as you possibly can in your recovery, to take as many steps as you possibly can. And yeah, that all in is a pretty viable option if this suits you and your current circumstances. I realise that this response may be a little bit vague, as per usual, but the one-size-fits-all guidelines that you often find online, well, they end up not working because everyone is on a different journey. I can go prescribing a one-size-fits-all guideline, but for at least half of you, it wouldn't be applicable. It would cause a lot of unnecessary anxiety and tension, and chances are your recovery is going to be complicated a whole damn lot by it. And that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the facts. I'm here for the research. If you want to work with me, link below for your discovery call. Take really good care, warriors. See you guys very soon. Love you loads.